All right, everybody, this is Chad from the Conscious Veteran Initiative, and I am stoked today to have Ron with Balanced Veterans. What's up, Ron?
What's going on, man? I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited to have this conversation. I wanted to bring you on because the core mission behind what I'm doing with Conscious Veterans is to really help other veterans to increase their consciousness, and that may sound really esoteric on the surface, but I really think it's not. To me, it's like when you say the word consciousness, people automatically, some people automatically group you into this category of people where you're a hippie. Me living in Santa Cruz, California doesn't help my situation, right? In that regards. But in my mind, it really is just an awareness, right? Like, I want to help other veterans increase an awareness, not only of what's going on in the world, but more importantly, what's going on inside your mind, so that people can understand how your mind, creates your perceptions, and your perceptions create your reality, and so that's the core mission. And so I met you back, that was probably this summer when you and Vic were out here, right?
Yeah. This past summer.
And I got to understand what you're doing with Balanced Veterans. And so part of what I do with the Conscious Veteran Initiative is to bring people on like you who are helping other veterans to do that same thing. And we were just in alignment in how we looked at the world and like how to tackle that problem. So with that, can you just talk a little bit about what your background, and then how that brought you to Balanced Veterans, and then what you're doing with Balanced Veterans?
Yeah, absolutely. And man, you said a ton, especially around just the word consciousness and what that is. So I'm excited to jump in with you today, and it's really an honor to be here. And really, I want to pause before we even go any further and just say thank you to the people that do take the time to listen, because there is so much noise, as we kind of chatted about a little bit earlier. And so to pause for a little bit and to listen into our conversation, it's really great. And I think that we're both extremely grateful for the people that are listening, because what I've learned with leading an organization are, man, there are a ton of people that need help. There are so many different underserved communities. Veterans are one of them. But really, there's a lot of noise, and there are a lot of programs and things, and, a lot of different, I got to be careful with my words, but just a lot of things around it. And so having authentic conversations with other authentic leaders such as yourself is such an honor, man. And so thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Balanced Veterans. Yeah. So, well, actually myself, I'm an Air Force veteran. I joined the Air Force when I was 17. I went in right out of high school with a parental signature, all of that good stuff. And really, I went into the Air Force and boot camp, and all of my tech training and all of my training that happened in the military was my literal becoming of a man. It was how I grew up, per se. So I went straight from high school right into this aggressive militaristic career, which, probably a lot of people listening and yourself, it's what a lot of us have done. And so went into the military 17, traveled the world. I moved 33 times in the 7+ change years that I was in. I deployed to Iraq, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, saw a little bit of combat. But my biggest hurdle were the suicides. There were just so many people taking their lives, and oh my God, it just never gets easier, and so and then I found myself, I was like, man, I am, and this is removed from my trauma, this is removed a little bit outside of separating. I realized, like, I I kind of get it. Like, I'm struggling, man. I'm on the struggle bus, like literally having intrusive thoughts and just not knowing what was right and what was wrong. And you're having moral conflictions. You've got a lot of shame. There's so many things that, um, you know, built up my mind to a spot where I felt like I couldn't go on any further. And so I had a couple suicide attempts. I had first tried to commit suicide when I was in active duty, and then once more when I was out. And I realized I'm grateful. I am incredibly grateful that that wasn't successful. And in all honesty, just really a cry for help. I had no idea what to do or where to go. And so I'm actually grateful for that. And that sort of started to put me into a direction of really reconnecting with my faith. So I had a strong like faith in God, and Christianity is kind of how I was raised as a child, and I kept that with me, you know. And but I was doing it because I'm like, all right, this is what everybody says you're supposed to do to, you know, feel better, have purpose, find direction. You know, it's like have faith in something. All right, cool, I have faith in God. And so like, man, I dove into that. I actually got out of the military and went to Bible college. So
Mhm.
I was like studying theology, and I was studying Christianity, and I was reading all of these different theologians, and it was really, really a deep dive in Christianity, and felt like that was it. That was the way. I started working for some churches, and um, moved around a little bit there, but I really fell in love with the creative aspect. I fell in love with like the social media and the web development and all of that stuff behind it, and really the psychology behind reaching people. And a lot of that in the church world was really creating messaging and graphics and content to reach people, to help them find what we're all looking for, that peace, that hope, that, you know, that missing thing that, in all honesty, what I want to call it, it was a long way for me to get there, is consciousness. You
Mhm.
know, it's like we're really trying to obtain that. We're trying to really well, enlightenment really, but you know, that gets kind of weird. It gets kind of deep when you're talking language, and that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing. But so anyway, church world, I dove really into that, and I realized that like I'm leading all of these people. I was doing all kinds of great things, but I was like, I still don't want to be alive. Like there are moments that I really don't want to be here. And I had to get really real with myself, man. And it was tough. Like that I think just this morning I saw somebody on social media posted something about, you know, it might be better if I wasn't here, or I wish this would all end so that I wouldn't have to suffer. And man,
Mhm.
my heart breaks because I know that suffering. I know that pain so well. And you know, that's kind of where Balanced Veterans came from. It came from a really deep place of hurt myself, and you know, my experience in the church world, and all of that with like nonprofits and how that operated. I just realized there was a gap in the community for that, and I had found cannabis as a really great tool for my healing. And so we started to bring some messaging and education in around cannabis, and then expanded on that as all alternative therapies. So
Mhm.
Balanced Veterans, our mission is the education, advocacy, and empowerment of alternative therapies for veterans and their families. And so it really, you know, that looks like a lot of different things. Cannabis education is one of the major things, but, you know, mental wellness is really what we're after. It's what we're all trying to achieve. It's why we're having this conversation. I'm here to learn from you just as much as we are to just have a conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, first I want to say that I think it's also, amazing that you're able to take those hardships, especially the suicide attempts, and turn them into something, a learning experience to put you at the place where you're at right now, because what you are doing is great work, and it's sorely needed inside of this veteran community. And, I think that's a good lesson, for all of us, is that, our biggest lessons often come from our biggest hardships, and the reality of it is, we are all, at some point searching for enlightenment, and it's something that, a perfection that we probably won't be able to ever obtain. But, that's the pursuit of life, is to continue to deepen that understanding. Right. And I wanted to pull on one other thing. This kind of occurred to me as we talk about a lot of the stuff that you do with Balanced Veterans and a lot of the modalities as alternative therapies, and I think that we call them alternative merely because in our society, we have lost touch with the fact that these are most of the stuff we're talking about, whether it's plant medicine, whether it's different practices in meditation, philosophy, faith, like it's ancient. It's
Yeah.
no more alternative than it's more time tested than what we call mainstream at this point. But to most
Yeah.
people, the stuff that you're advocating for is quote unquote alternative therapy, almost derogatively named alternative therapies, right? And certainly within the mainstream medical community. So once again, that's semantics, but I think I think in order for us to really move this forward, like we've got to stop calling it alternative therapies. I don't know, what do we call it? Ancient therapy, what
Yeah.
people have been doing since the dawn of time, Um, but I want to draw out that distinction because I think it's important. But so I want to circle back around now too. So it sounds like cannabis for you was kind of an inflection point. Is that true or no?
Yeah, cannabis. Really, it now my relationship obviously has changed with it, and it does. I think for everybody, our relationships with what help us change. And I love what you said about the alternative therapies because it drives me crazy to have to call it that because I do realize like these are tools that have been around for so long that
Yeah.
have been here. But they're I think in the medical world, Western medicine anyway, like there's no insurance for it, or
Mhm.
there are things that you kind of, for most veterans, you have to pay out of pocket to get, some of these modalities. And so, the alternative therapy, it's again, just semantics and language, but
Sure.
I'm right there with you. And that's exactly why we're hoping to educate more because like, man, there's so many things that people may not have even necessarily tried because they don't realize or don't know about. And so it's everything.
Yeah.
What was the question you just asked me? Oh,
So
cannabis.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, it seemed like that was an inflection point along your path. Can you talk? I mean, if that is true, that's an assumption. But if that's true, can you kind of talk about that inflection point and and then how that relationship has evolved over time, like that you alluded to?
Yeah, absolutely. Cannabis was an amazing tool that I was able to find for the longest time within my like faith and everything that I had known up until that point. It was completely wrong. It was like the devil's lettuce, whatever everybody wants to call it. Like all the bad terminology, the stigma that had been built up. I had really believed all of that. And I know there are a lot of people that still do to this day, and that's okay. I think that as the education comes, more people will be able to find the freedom that's really there with some of these plant medicines. So, I had a good friend of mine that reached out to me and was able to help me with it, with trying it. And so, for the first time I tried it, probably, I that's a lie. When I was in high school, I had like
Mhm.
dabbled with it a couple times and
Yeah.
really, really unhealthy, not understanding that sort of thing. But really, after getting out of the military, this was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago now. I had a friend of mine that had me try cannabis, and I really noticed that when I tried it, I was able to sort of not control my thoughts, but all of the thoughts were able to sort of come into focus, and I slowed down a little bit, and my mind was able to find a little bit of like breathing room. And
Mhm.
man, it was just a really cool feeling, especially being zonked on a lot of the pharmaceuticals that I was. I felt a almost similar relief, but it wasn't as I had control over it, which
Mhm.
I felt like with pharmaceuticals, I had no control. I was just like, here I am, I'm a zombie, and with this, I was able to actually express some emotions. I was able to get in touch with some of those thoughts. And so it really did start to become a tool for me. But it was sort of unhealthy in the beginning because I was like, great, mind relief, let's use it. And I would use as much as I could. And I didn't understand it. And I didn't really do the research to realize how many different compounds are in the plant and how I could use it for different things. And so it got really exciting after that. But yeah, it was a big turning point in my life for me to find this plant. And now it's something that I use daily. It's become like a daily driver. And I've got a complete different relationship with it. I've been able to learn about terpenes and all of the different compounds that are inside of the plant, how they affect your body and the systems that are inside of our bodies that are there for these plants. So, it's just a different ball game. But yes, cannabis,
Yeah.
huge turning point.
Yeah. I think that listening to you talk about that, you know, this is kind of what drew me down this path is I started really trying to understand how our mind worked during, whether it's flow states or peak experiences. And that was literally what dragged, and here it is like 3 years plus later, still going down this rabbit hole. And, whether it's plant medicine or meditation or, anything really that gets you into the flow state or having those peak experiences, listening to you talk about your experience with cannabis reminds me of that because, I hear you say it slows everything down, and you're able to kind of see your thoughts, right? And to me, listening to that is in line with everything that a lot of the alternative therapies that we talk about produce for people. And that's merely to, to slow down the part of your brain that produces that ego or that sense of self, and we know that neurologically, that's what happens. You have the default mode network in your brain, and whether it's the use of compounds or meditation or anything that's going to give you that sense of focus on the present moment, we know that area quiets down, and that's the part of our brain that gives us that subject object relationship. So anything to get beyond that sense of self, right, essentially gives you the capability to, you no longer are looking at the world as me and everything else. It's now just your consciousness looking at yourself as part of the world itself, right? And I think that's an important distinction. That's where that sense of unity comes from. That's where you all of a sudden you understand your place in the world, and more importantly, and I think this is not more importantly, because that's super important, right? But I think that then once you are no longer in that subject object relationship, now your consciousness can view your sense of self, your ego, this avatar that we hold up as ourself that we've created over our life, and you can view that objectively. You can view your behaviors, you can view your thoughts objectively, and realize, even if it's brief moments, that here, I'm identified with this thought, but I don't have to be identified with that thought. I can look at that thought and just let it go. I don't have to hold on to it. And then the deeper you get into that, you can literally see that all of this ego, this avatar I built for myself, is merely a construct. That's a manifestation of all my experiences, all my beliefs, society's beliefs. And with hard work, you've got the ability to change all of that, right? And that's the practice. That is the practice. Now it's one thing to know it, but now the real work is being able to objectively view those and to be able to let go of the things that don't serve you and try to build up some of the things that do serve you, some habits, some behaviors,
Absolutely. And, like we're having a conversation right now. Today's a good day for me. I think it's funny because I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, they've got an organization, they're leading things and they've got it all figured out. Like I've heard somebody say, who's this balanced guru? Like I've never in my life, ever am I claiming that. I'm not a yogi, none of that stuff. Right. Like, but what you just said is golden. Like we're able to pick and choose some of those thoughts and those things and those emotions and everything that really has been constructed throughout our entire lives and view it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's really, really hard work. I was in counseling shortly 7-8 months after I got out of the military. And I still am. I had a counseling session last week. And, and I think that is really, really good because there are all of these tools for us to continue to learn that. So it takes really, really, really hard work and practice to feel those emotions, to see those things come up and to view them a little bit differently, or to really ground yourself and be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's going on and start to work through all of that stuff. And so that work can be accomplished without plant medicines completely. Right. Plant medicines are just like an amazing tool. I had been working for years with counseling and hadn't cracked the code, and here come plant medicines, and they helped me to, I guess, view things a little bit differently, for me to be able to take what you just said and put that into practice. Yeah. The plants helped me to get into a spot to be able to do that. And now I'm combining breath and therapy and the plant medicines all together. And it's like a beautiful experience. And it's helped me come a lot further than I have, ever. I feel like, this year I have this level of understanding about myself and what I've been through that I've never, ever had. And there is no answer. There's not like a, hey guys, go fill out our email real quick, put your email in there, we're going to send you the answer to like get better. Yeah. Like there are so many answers, there are so many tools, and there are so many ways to do it, but it's really putting in the hard work and doing something, that discipline to actually do it.
Yeah, I think that what you said about plant medicine is like so critical for people to understand. It's a tool, and it's an extremely powerful tool, and all of these
That
modalities.
can be abused.
Totally, 100%. Any like anything, right? Anything
Yeah.
can be used. Everything can be used for good or bad, depending on how it's used. And plant medicine, like any other peak experience, the reason why I think they're so powerful is because you fully transcend that sense of self, and the only thing that's left is your awareness, and you lose that duality.
Your hiding spots, you
Yeah.
lose it.
And all of a sudden it turns on yourself, and it says, and you have the opportunity to look at all your behaviors, all your actions, good and bad, right? So with those experiences, you have catharsis and ecstasis, both at the same time, right? You go through, I mean, it's the same thing, it's just flipped on its head, right? But inside that, you see, that inside of all pain is love, is beauty, and vice versa, and so I think that having those peak experiences gives you the opportunity to see that stillness, that equanimity, that peace that exists when we're not attached to our ego or that sense of self, and we can let go of judgment, and stop judging ourselves, stop judging what we did before, stop judging what we think is coming down the pipe, and learning just to be present, so that's what I think is the power of those modalities. But, like we said, and I think this is so critical for people to understand, is it's easy to be drawn back to them over and over and over. And I'm not here to judge anybody on what they do in terms of, amount or frequency, like that's up to the individual. But, I always do feel compelled to tell people that these are powerful tools, and it's easy to get caught up in chasing that bliss or even the pain that exists there, because we all want to shed that pain. But the reality of it is you've got to bring those lessons back to the real world, for lack of a better word, and put those into practice. And like, that's the real work. You have these epiphanies, these insights, whether it's through meditation, and, meditation has been huge for me, and studying philosophy and studying ancient religion, and they're all pointing instructions all to the same thing,
Yes.
And so it's easy, I don't know if you've heard the analogy of, the finger pointing at the moon, and all of these modalities are the finger pointing at the moon. And it's easy to start worshiping the finger and forget about the moon, So all of these are just tools, all the different modalities, the alternative therapies, like whatever you want to call them, but they're, finding that balance, right? We talk about balance, finding that balance of your daily, the things you do daily, the things you do weekly, the things you do monthly, quarterly, annually, figuring that out, is critical, I think.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, you come into we create the life that we want. We really do. I mean, you have desires that are birthed out of somewhere, and you start to chase that desire, and you do different things. You go to school, you join the military, whatever that looks like, and so this, that hasn't gone away. It's still the exact same. And sometimes I realized that after my identity, that was the military, after this was who I was, what I was supposed to do, was gone, I was left with not nothing, because you're left with yourself. You're left with, again, those desires that haven't gone anywhere. And I've learned that the plants and just really practicing meditation has also been a huge, huge tool for me. Really, figuring out what those desires are and loving yourself enough to actually try to achieve those things, that's it, and then we continue to implement some of these practices and these tools that we have here, that we've had here for so many millions of years, like we're able to then apply them to our lives and however we need to, And I think, again, it's the balance. It's, some days I don't, and I feel it. There are some days that I don't do the things that I know that I should do, that all of the experts and doctors and everybody with a title that felt like they needed to construct their life to give them that title, to be that person, to lead the people, to tell them those things, whatever they say, I try to do those things. Right. But when you don't, you don't. And then you have to have compassion for yourself. You have to love yourself enough to know that, like, all right, I need to do better. I'm going to do better next time, or I'm going to approach this differently when I can. But you're not going to win all the time, man. I lose all the time. But now it's a practice, and I meet myself with more compassion and love than, like, what do we do in the military? We're completely critical. It's like, nah, you fucked up. Like, don't do that. Like, people's lives are on the line, all of that stuff. And now your life is on the line, like, it comes down to, like, you taking care of yourself. And when you talk to yourself negatively, and when you bring that energy, that anger, that aggression, that whatever it is, man, it'll kill you. Like, it's tough.
Well, and it's you just spread it, and that's why,
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've struggled with through this whole, process of self-actualization, whatever you want to call it, down this path, is that it feels really selfish to take the time, for me to get up and take the time to meditate in the morning, to get up and do my journaling in the morning, to, go on a hike by myself, to go surf, and go meet up with my friends, that it's all, seems on the surface very selfish, and I'm always battling, well, I really want
to, though, to you, it feels selfish, right?
Right.
Like,
but
it's so tough. I feel you there.
Yeah. Right. And it seems selfish, but I say this all the time, and I really do believe it is, it's the most unselfish thing I can do, because if I go take care of myself and do all the things I need to do, man, I'm going to show up so much better for everybody around me. And that whatever energy you have is contagious. If I'm in a shitty mood, I'm going to go to work and get in an argument with a coworker, or, and even then that's fine. It's like, goes back to what you said, like, you got to have grace for yourself on those days and say, you know what, I fucked up. Let me learn from this lesson. Let me learn from this mistake. What can I do better next time? And just use it as a point of practice, but that's something I think we all struggle with. I've got 2 kids. Oh, I lost your.
Did we lose audio? Shoot. Whoa, my bad. So that way we.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. We had a little technical glitch, but we're back, and I do not remember what we were talking about. But that's cool. Like, let's move on.
Well, no, dude, actually, I do sort of remember, because this is huge. You said, like, doing all those things, it's not selfish, right? Like, you take the time to do all of that, and you're a better person for everyone, like, it's your family, it's your friends, it's yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be this way. If I was, like, driving to work and, like, somebody would set me off in the car, and I'm still working on the car. It's really tough for me. But when somebody would set me off, man, my whole entire day would be shot, like, I literally would throw the energy at this person that doesn't even know I'm there. I'm on this level, I'm getting all worked up, and it literally, like, spilled throughout my entire day. I'd be in sort of a bad mood. My energy levels are low. I'm more aggressive. And, sometimes we need that. I feel like in the military, especially when you're deployed or you're in a combat situation, like, that aggression, it's there for us. It's our friend. It's the fight or flight mode. It's the being aware of what's going on. And so, learning to really understand, again, ground yourself, be aware of your surroundings. Do I need this? Is this serving me right now, or is this hurting me? And picking and choosing. So I appreciate you saying that, man. It really, that was major for me, was just figuring that out and not calling it selfish anymore. Self-care is not selfish. It's literally what's going to save your life. And figuring that out for yourself, because it's not, for me, I'm not a surfer, like, I would probably, it's probably awesome. And it may, if I started doing it, it might be something that, like, I loved, but I'm not. And so that's something that you find therapeutic and healing for you. And that's beautiful, man. So it's like, there are so many different things out there, and it's finding it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's two things I want to pull on there. And the first one is just that, yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is one of the critical things to pull out for veterans in particular, is like the hypervigilance that we have that served us very well in the military, that was trained into us. I mean, even outside of the military, that can serve you well, right? Like, and that's the ego. That's, a very strong ego, and it can serve you well. But, it's a matter of using your ego as a tool and not allowing your ego to use you, right? So that's just a distinction that I wanted to make there. And then the other part was just, one of the things that I think is really important right now, and this is something that I run up against quite a bit, is, I do a lot of internal work. It's a big part of my life. And honestly, just trying to improve my life for myself and for my family, and to achieve those desires that I have, and it's such a weird world that we live in, because it's like half the people think you're completely selfish, and the other half of the people who maybe are doing it for more external reasons are like, you should be working harder than you are, and I've always felt somewhere in the middle, and I think it comes back to the same kind of balance that we're talking about, and especially right now in the environment that we are in, like, there is a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world, and it's very easy for people to think that the best way to solve the world's problems is to go fix external stuff. And what's interesting to me, what I've learned, and it's just what we're talking about, is the best way to solve the world's problems is to go inward and fix yourself first. And then just the energy that you bring to the world is what's going to create all that positivity. It's just like you said, it's like the same way that if you're upset in your car, and someone cuts you off on accident, they don't see you and you get irritated, and you carry that for the rest of the day, or who knows how long, multiple days. Like, it could just set you in on that self-perpetuating cycle of negativity. And, but the same way is, if you can bring the opposite energy to everybody around you, it's just as simple as, going to anywhere where you're checking out and actually asking, the clerk, how are you doing? And I always find it interesting when I really ask them that, and I'm really waiting for an answer. Then they look up and they're like, oh, you actually want to hear how I'm doing. You're not just making that small talk as you check out. Right. So you can, that same interaction can create positive energy for her for the rest of the day, or for him for the rest of the day, whatever, so I think it's important to show that distinction. So it's just interesting in this, where we're at in the world right now. Everybody thinks, it can seem even more selfish to do all the things you need to do for yourself, and I think it's the opposite,
Absolutely. It is definitely the opposite. And I think that one thing that meditation has really taught me is presence. And I think, like, going throughout my entire day, being more present with people, like you said, like, say hello to I didn't even realize how fast I was moving through life. Right. And there's all of these people around us, and I'm going through the grocery store and have passed 50 people, and it's like slowing down, being present, seeing who's around you. Like, I've started to, my partner and I, Victoria, we started to, like, as we're out, you're like pointing out the veteran, like, is that a vet? Because you're looking for, like, either like a hat or a pin or a thing or
right.
And it actually, like, helped me to, like, and it's crazy because there are a ton of veterans around us, which I think is awesome. But it's also helped me to just sort of be, like, present in the moment and, like, have something to focus on. And like you said, then, like, saying hello to somebody and spreading that, like, there is so much hate and division. Like, I feel like that's exactly the point, right? Like, if we have everybody against each other, we're all way easier to control. And so we've got all of this chaos, all of this noise. Like, you can't post anything at all anywhere without somebody having an opinion about it in a really strong way. And I think that that's, it's okay, but what we're talking about right now is exactly that. Like, I choose to spread positivity and I choose to spread love because I feel like there's just not enough of it. You know, there are days that I don't have enough love for myself. And I was wishing that somebody would spread a little love my way. And then it might help spark one of those, you know, good vibe feelings, or you just feel a little bit better and put a little smirk on your face and a little pep in your step and go about your day. So it's a good thing. And you have no idea how much it affects you or the people around you. So yeah, man, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, you know, and I think it's important to draw out another thing that we've kind of hit on a few times, and it's like, man, you know, I feel like I've put in a ton of work, you know, and it's been really, you know, 3+ years of really making a direct, you know, intensive effort to work on my mental wellness, you know, and my entire life. And you know, I still have days. I get caught in a funk sometimes and I can get out for days,
Yeah,
you
dude.
know, and that's even more frustrating, right? Because you're aware of the fact you know, I know that I'm just not able to, you know, let go of a certain thought pattern, and it keeps coming back and coming back. And I just have to keep letting it go and letting it go, you know, over and over and over. And it's difficult to do. So I would just, you know, it's like you said, you know, with you leading Balanced Veterans, you know, people look at you sometimes and they think like, you know, who's this guru? And, you know, it's like, it's probably going to be like that till the day we die, you know, and that's just life. Right. But being able to understand that and do exactly what you just did, just laugh about it, you know, that is
Dude,
so
it's moment to moment. We're
moment.
all practicing the same things, you know? It's like, no, even, you know, we look to these leaders, these, you know, political leaders or pastors or gurus or whoever they are, and we're like, tell us what to do. And they're doing the same thing we are, man. It's moment to moment. They're just accepting things as they come, and they're meeting themselves with grace and compassion. And
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. And just
dude, it's so
moment
much
to
easier
moment.
to sit in here and
Yeah.
talk about though, you know,
Yeah.
because we're having good days, you know, and it's like when that storm comes or when that cloud hits, man. Whew.
Yeah. It's tough, man, you know, and that's just life, right? And there's so many metaphors for that, you know, like the storm's going to pass, you know, like let it go. You know, when all of this pandemic started, my daughter, she's 4, she has dance class, and her teacher said the best thing ever, man, because I think like one of the things that has struck me about this pandemic is a lot of people have just like paused their life, for lack of a better word. All of us have changed our lives to some extent, right? Like major ways, you
Yeah.
know, but you still have to go out and you have to live, you know. And her dance teacher put out a thing and said, you know, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's learning to dance in the rain, you
Mm.
know. And I love that. And it's like so simple, and I would have heard that before and thought, oh, that's so corny, you know. It's like a self-help poster, right? But it's
Yeah.
so profound. And
Mm.
things that are that simple always are, right? Because yeah, you could put your life on hold, or you could use what's happening and listen and be present. But if you're not present, then you're not going to get those lessons, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I wanted to talk about, you know, we've talked about a lot of the stuff that you're doing with Balanced Veterans, and, you know, you're creating that, you know, education, empowerment, and advocacy. And, you know, ultimately you're trying to create a healthy community with conversation and using holistic healing, you know. And I think that the community aspect of that is so important for veterans, you know, because I was thinking about this, you know, more pointedly this morning going into this conversation. It's so interesting. Like when you're in the military, you know, you have an ultimate purpose, right? You're
Or you at least know what you're supposed to do.
exactly right. So even if you don't buy into the overarching, you know, mission of the American military, you know, it's there,
Yeah.
and your life is structured in a way to support that, you know. And you've got your community is given to you because you're assigned to a unit. And then we all get out of the military and you lose all of that, you know. And like you were talking about before, a lot of us get so wrapped up is whatever we did in the military, like that's our identity. And so when you come out, you lose that. And so, you know, a lot of us kind of, you know, whether we're doing well externally, now we just go into society and say, okay, well, I'm supposed to do this. Now I'm supposed to go back to school. And then I'm supposed to go get a job doing this or whatever, like however you manage that. And it's like, some of us manage it better than others. And some of us have more skills that are more in demand. And, you know, there's a lot of different things that depends on. But I think that having these conversations and building that community, like that's what I found. I mean, whether your thing is meditation or surfing or, you know, I know there's like jujitsu groups, there's hiking
beekeeping,
groups,
equine therapy,
anything,
all of it.
anything, right? I mean, and I think there's a lot of common threads, you know, with getting outside in nature, you know, getting back into like a sense of embodiment, like whatever takes you out of your head and puts you in your body and puts you in the present moment.
Yes.
You know, and build a community around that, you know, and I honestly believe, you know, I posted a quote by the Zen monk, you know, I won't try to pronounce his name because I'm going to screw it up, but Thich Nhat Hanh, I believe, and or Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the two, either way, you know, and it's so beautiful because it says veterans are the light at the tip of the candle, you know, and if we're able to find peace and tranquility, you know, and forgive ourselves, then we can bring all that to the world and talk to them about how like war is not the answer, you know. I think we lost the
Oh, no, dude, no. Dude, what is happening? This is not good. Oh, bro, I'm so sorry.
It's all good, man. All right. Hey guys, we're back and this is real life. So we had another technical, no worries, we're getting it. But what I was saying was, you know, I talked about the quote from the Zen monk, you know, where he just talks about veterans. Basically, as veterans, we have experiences that most human beings don't have. You know, we've been to combat, we've seen the realities of not pretty much, like the worst thing that humans can do to each other, right? Mortal combat. And so I think where I was going with that was just to say that, you know, we have the opportunity to, if we're willing to do the work and fully understand ourselves and find that sense of peace, it's something that we can bring to other veterans and then apply those lessons through our perspective as veterans to show the world that, hey man, like we see where that road leads and it's not the answer, you know. It's not the answer. So I think it's critical. And I think we do have the power to move the needle on a lot of these modalities and to really change the public's perception of a lot of these modalities. And I think it's important to have these conversations. And so with that, let's talk a little bit more about Balanced Veterans and you know, break it down with, you know, what you're personally doing and, you know.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And it's exciting. We've got some new things coming up for the organization, and we're going to have a new website that'll be launching in the next month or two. Not sure on an exact date, but I'll make sure we let people know. And if you're interested in that, just fill out our email link on our current website, and we'll be sure to keep you up to date. But on the new website, we decided to break our organization down into like 4 different areas, and those areas are Operation 1620, which is everything cannabis. So we do medical marijuana certifications in multiple states. So what we try to do is partner with doctors to get veterans their medical marijuana card for free or at a low cost, and then they can get onto a state medical program to at least experience cannabis and get some education around it. That will then line up with like a mentorship program, and this will all happen through our website. So that's one area, Operation 1620. And then mental wellness, we're going to have a community online where we're going to be able to have some unrestricted conversations and really dive in deep to what we need to, I feel like there are a lot of conversations that need to happen that Facebook and social media just aren't the place for it. So we're going to create a platform outside of that to have some of these combos and hopefully host some small groups for men and women, PTSD, military sexual trauma, just bring in some really needed conversations. And then we've got movement, which every week we're going to offer some sort of a wellness class. So we'll have yoga, meditation, breathing, mindfulness, and just some different things that people can try out. So that's exciting. And then lastly is Project Triangle. So Project Triangle is going to be talking about entheogens and psychedelics, and we're hearing it everywhere, right? Like I've seen an article in Washington Post and Forbes, and everybody's sort of talking about it. And so we want to make sure that there's really good education around it. There are a couple different organizations that are doing big things in the space. And so we want to continue to come alongside, work with them, and continue to help veterans connect to at least the education around some of the plant medicines that are available to them. And then really just the safe use and safe relationships with these plants, and just continue to educate around that. So 4 main areas, really excited about it. The new website will have all of that. We'll start to create content and bring some things around that. Our team is filming next week to bring some educational videos around cannabis, how to grow, all that fun stuff. So really looking forward to that, just being a resource and to spread the word, again, to just really be there for each other. I like how you put it, like all of the different modalities that are out there, we've got to find them. And I think in return, when you find something that you enjoy, you start to fall in love with yourself. And that's like the most important thing, is to find what you enjoy. Like it's no longer what you have to do, but like what gets you going, like what gets you excited. And when you can start to tap into that, you start to tap into your purpose and direction, and just start to keep moving towards that. And, so I'm pumped, man. A lot of big things ahead for the organization as a whole, and really just for veterans. I'm excited to be connected with you and other veterans that are having these conversations that matter around how to just mentally move past some of our conditioning. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
Break that stuff down, deconstruct that junk,
Right.
find what serves you now.
Yeah. That's, the deconstruction is, I mean, I think that's like the essence of all the different modalities, right? As you, like I talked about before, if you're able to move, even if you're not fully transcending that sense of self or your ego, whatever you want to call it, even if you can quiet it down to then look objectively at all those behaviors and habit patterns, and you can, that's like the first phase, right, of any deconstruction, is to identify what it is that you're trying to pull down.
Yeah.
And it's hard work, and it can be destabilizing, right? Because once you figure out that it's all just a construct, that's a kind of a scary moment, because then you all of a sudden your whole life you've built up this avatar, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not what I am. Like, well, what am I then? The best thing I've ever heard is someone, and this once again this is an old quote, but they said, it's a path best not taken, but once started must be taken to completion, right?
Mm.
And I don't know if we'll ever
So
find
true.
completion, I don't know if you'll ever find completion, but it's a hard road, right? To really figure yourself out is a really difficult thing to do, but it's, in my mind, it's the most worthwhile thing you'll ever do with your life.
The most worthwhile, because you hold on to truths, man. It's that deacon, like I thought there was one way, a religion, and I did everything that I could. So when I deconstructed, I felt lost, man. It is a really confusing, scary place. I don't say I have it figured out at all, but I'm having a lot of conversations with a lot of other people that are going through it, and it makes it a lot easier. But really, again, all of these religions, all of these modalities, all of these different things are direction steps to point us to the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And when you find that freedom, then you start to pick and choose. There are many principles that I still choose to implement in my life spiritually from Christianity, and I take things from different religions that help me to find myself.
Yeah.
And when you find yourself, you find God. And I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. You said that great. Like it's so true. Like that's what you find, right? You realize that everything is just a manifestation of God. Everything, literally everything, and and then once you have that realization, you know, like you said, there was a big thing, and this was huge for me over the last like year, is getting rid of that I should or I shouldn't.
Mm,
No, what do I want or what do I don't want? And do
yeah.
that, you know, and being able to tap into those things that really drive us forward. You begin to do work that you're not getting paid for, you know, or you could care less if you're getting paid for it. You're going to do it no matter what because it's important to you and it's something that you're passionate about. And then that's when I think the magic really happens, because now you're living authentically, you know, for yourself and for the, and, you know, a big part of like, I just constantly remind myself is, you know, live from a place of love in service
Mm.
of others, you know, and it's hard to do, you
Man,
know.
people are why we're here. You know, there are so many people that are suffering and struggling. And if we can tell our story or we can have conversation that helps somebody else like
Mm,
move past some of that suffering, like I mean, just find what works for you and share it with someone. You
yeah,
know, I think it's a beautiful gift. More, it's the better currency than money could ever be is love and is sharing that knowledge. So
yeah.
yeah.
So if you could get, so if you, to all the veterans or really to anybody listening, you know, what advice would you give them on, you know, finding balance in order to live a meaningful life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. And you know, I speak with a lot of veterans and a lot of people, you know, it's at the end of the day, we're all people, right? And they're the veteran again is that construction of something that we chose to do and a path. And now here we are in that status. And so we are considered veterans. But all people struggle and all people have trauma and they have different experiences that happen in life, and really all of the culmination of the entire conversation that we had is to find yourself. It really is to find yourself, because you can read all of the books and you can, you know, listen to the therapists and you can do all of the things and you can still be completely lost. I did all of that. I read all the things and was completely lost. So really finding yourself, finding what you love, and then working those things into your life to truly heal. Like healing doesn't happen overnight. I've realized that. I think I hope not, but I'm saddened to say that I think that healing is going to be a lifelong journey, you know, and I think that when we can have different people in our lives and different tools in our lives that help us to feel more comfortable when some of those storms do come, because that's the other thing, like we know they're coming, like we know that things are going to happen, and so when they do come, choose to meet them a little bit differently than you did last time, and like find the solution in that and how you can move forward. So it's self-awareness. That's it. I mean, it's if you're in a dark spot, get really serious about how to not be. Why are you there? Think about all of the things around you that have gotten you to where you are, and you can change all of that stuff literally in 24 hours. If it's relational, if it's something that's not serving you or something that's hurting you or harming you, you can leave those situations. There are so many different steps to take, but it really does begin with yourself. And it begins with like finding what you need to move forward. So I'm sorry for such a long answer.
Oh,
It's
that's great.
oh dude, you have a really cool like sun glare coming in your
Oh, yeah.
shot.
See,
Whoa, check that out, man. That is awesome.
I'll tone it down just a little wee bit though. It's,
No,
yeah,
it was like perfect as we came to an end. The
yeah.
glow is coming.
Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time out to share your story and for the work that you're doing with Balanced Veterans. And I'm excited to see what's coming next as you continue to progress, you know, and I think it's really impressive what we can do if we do find ourselves, you know, and then we do find those things that we're passionate about, and we do have the courage to bring that to the world around us, you know, and to the people that need it, you know. And I think that we can talk all day long, right? And that's going to reach people, you know, but I think more so people are going to be inspired by our actions, that we, you know, how we show up and how we live. And so I
Yeah.
think you embody that principle very well. Like the work you're doing is inspiring to other people, and you never know who you're going to inspire, you know. So
You sure don't, man. Wow. It has been seriously an honor. When you asked me, I couldn't believe it. So thank you, man. It means a lot to even be here having this conversation with you. I know we are connected and I'm grateful for all you're doing, and I can't wait to continue to watch your journey. And that's it. It really is. It's about how we live our lives. We can have this conversation all day, but if we don't put these things into practice, it's a whole different story. And some days I don't. Some days it's tough, like we said. So, but that's the other thing. And the last thing I want to say is I've realized that in my life, shame has been the biggest detriment to my mental health.
yeah.
It's the shame around either sharing something that was really difficult, or the shame about how somebody's going to feel when I let everyone know what's going on, or when I share something that may be a little bit more expressive. There's shame around that, right? And when you can get past that, when you can love yourself to realize you need to just share these things, you need to, if there's something that comes that you want to create or get out, to let it out with no shame, and just know that there are safe spaces. If you're having people that make fun of you or say things or negative, just remember we're all on a spectrum here, going through life in different journeys. And so don't let somebody get you down. Have no shame in sharing your true, authentic self.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I'm grateful for you. If nobody's told you today, I love you, and I'm pumped that we got to have this conversation, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you on. And, I just wanted to echo the same thing, man. Like when you show up authentically, from a place of love, it's going to scare some people, man. And some people are going to, and it scares them, and their initial reaction is to make fun of it and to tell you that you're crazy, but you're not. Find your community. Balanced Veterans, creating that community conscious veteran initiative is what I'm working on. So come join our community. And so with that, how can people get in contact with you or Balanced Veterans? Like, what's the best way? Like, share the details for that.
Yeah, social media is a great way. Any of the handles at Balanced Veterans, or you can go to balancedveterans.com, sign up for our email list. We'll be sure to share, all the information about the new exciting stuff that's coming up. And everybody says that new exciting stuff, right? It's not a ploy. I don't want you guys to go sign up. If you don't, whatever, there are so many organizations out there. But our team's working hard to just bring some things for people to try or implement into your life. And we're connected, bro. I can't wait to see the conscious veteran area in there as well. So I'm pumped for all you're doing and would love to be a part.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, man. All right. Well, Ron, it was awesome to talk to you, man. And till next time, we'll have to do this again. There's so much more to talk about.
Would love to, man. We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.